Hi and welcome to Gardening with DC. In today's seed series video we're going to have a quick look at the most commonly grown vegetable in Sydney and Australia's backyards, the tomato, which of course is actually a fruit, and we're going to have a quick look also at cucumbers, which is also a fruit. Now, spring, summer, the warmer months, they are the time that we feel we should be out in the garden, that we want to be out in the garden and hopefully producing something from those endeavours. Certainly as I was a little boy on my dad's allotment, spring and summer felt like the time of absolute plenty. Lots and lots of strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, loganberries, taberries. You get the idea. Lots and lots of berries. It felt like it was the time of fruits rather than, for example, the time of vegetables. So I think that's broadly true for us gardeners here in Sydney. Okay, so tomatoes and cucumbers, I'm sort of lumping them in together. I think they enjoy, certainly in my experience, pretty similar inputs. So let's just have a quick look at those. If you've had a look at the edible plants seed video, you'd know the 5 inputs. Soil, sunlight, water, nutrition, and of course you as well. So we want a pretty good soil. It doesn't have to be absolutely sensational. Tomatoes, generally want to be a bush, so they don't necessarily need absolutely fantastic soil, but pretty good soil that obviously can hold and provide the nutrition, the water and the oxygen that the plant's roots needs, and of course the same for cucumbers. Try and maximize that overhead sunlight. That's really, really important. Watering really is important here. Got to be at the base of the plant. Don't be watering the leaves. That can be extremely detrimental. So at the base of the plant, let's make sure it's going to the roots. Really, really important. In terms of nutrition, in contrast to the edible seed video where we were really thinking about leaves, foliage, in this instance obviously we're all about the fruits. We're not interested actually in the foliage. So here I'd really recommend putting down a bit of potash before you put your seeds, sow your seeds or put your seedlings in. Tomatoes in particular absolutely love potash. That doesn't mean they just want to be grown in potash. It just means adding a bit of a handful of potash to the soil. Okay, they don't love it to excess. So that's sort of the key nutritional element there. And of course, in terms of what I'd really recommend both for tomatoes and for cucumbers is to give the plant some support as it grows up. So that can either be literally a post or better still a bit of trellising, something like that, something that it can be tied onto. Of course, some of these have their own tendrils to attach, but I think it's helpful just to use a bit of twine and help the plant grow up. Now, in terms of tomatoes, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of varieties. That may be a slight exaggeration. There's certainly lots of varieties. I'd really recommend, if you're getting underway, to get underway with a cherry tom variety. They're a bit hardier and a bit tougher, a bit less susceptible to some of the pests and diseases that tomatoes can be prone to, and they generally provide a pretty bumper crop, and of course they are delicious. Bit more compact, and therefore having a bit more sort of taste to them. Probably my favourite is a variety called Tommy Toe. You could give that one a go. My dad's all-time favourite is one called Gardener's Delight. So perhaps it should be called Eater's Delight. I don't know, but I'd recommend starting off with a cherry tom variety. They're really, really terrific stuff. In terms of on the cucumber side, here in Sydney, we seem to have great conditions for Lebanese cucumbers. So I'd recommend growing a Lebanese cucumber rather than the more sort of traditional Anglo telegraph cucumber, and they are going to sort of want to get a little bit unruly, so yeah, definitely stake, definitely trellis those. Now with tomatoes in particular, something that you might have heard of is pinching out. That's something that I'd grown up doing and always been told to do, and I think it's ostensibly because what we don't want with our tomato is the foliage. We're not interested in the foliage, we're interested in the flowers and the fruit, and pinching out is just basically nipping out new foliage growth. So in theory, the idea behind that is that instead of energy going into leaves, energy goes into fruits and flowers. Now, lots of gardeners think that that's no, I don't mean it in a bad way. Think that that's twaddle. Don't necessarily agree with that, and don't feel that you do need to pinch out. You know, if you're putting in a couple of plants, maybe pinch out on one, don't pinch out on the other, and you can compare and contrast afterwards. Tomatoes, you know, lots of varieties want to be quite bush-like. So you know, it's up to you. It's something that I do, and as I do it, it's sort of on the premise. It's not on any scientific basis. It's just what I have always grown up with, and as I say, the underlying rationale there is that we're looking for the crop is the fruit, which is the result of the flower, as opposed to energy going into the foliage. So with that in mind, and just sort of heading back to one of our 5 inputs, nutrition, you know, don't think that you've got to put lots of nitrogen in there. You know, that's just going to create foliage, whereas it's about the flowers and the fruit. So I hope that helps, and get out there and give it a go. As I say, in terms of the tomatoes, I'd recommend a cherry tom variety to get underway with. Think about those 5 inputs, and in terms of cucumbers, recommend the Lebanese, and definitely stake with a post or a bit of trellising to help yourself out there. Hope that helps, and see you next time.